All right. Hello, beautiful people. Good to see you all back here for another midweek Manna. So as a reminder, you can feel free to hit that share button at any time so that others can join you and join you in conversation about what we're talking about today. So for today's devotion, I'm going to start off and get a little nerdy with you. I'm a big Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all that sci-fi stuff. That's my thing. I even decided to wear a Star Wars shirt for the video. Like I said, it's getting a little nerdy today. And while I love me some Star Wars, not everybody loved the most recent trilogy. Lots of different criticisms about it, and one of the criticisms was about how they portrayed Luke Skywalker, the original hero of the original Star Wars movies. The rosy-cheeked, perfect Luke. He wasn't Mr. Cheerful this time around. He was sullen, he's frustrated, even a little pessimistic. From my perspective, the guy was just grieving. Because over the years, a lot had happened to Luke, and he was a changed person. And not all Star Wars fans really like that. So that brings up a question. What do we do when our heroes don't behave like we expect them to? So in our churches right now, we are going through the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. And at the end of the book of Ezra, we see him make a really controversial decision, especially to our modern eyes. He calls for all of his people to get divorced. Because from his perspective, they have married spouses who are going to hinder not only their own spiritual lives, but the call of God for the whole community. Now, if you want to know more about this particular passage, and how we can kind of interpret this, because it needs some interpretation, that was on last week's sermon, and you can check out that on online on either Hazel Park's website or on YouTube for St. Paul. But for today, just for these couple of minutes, I want to focus on this idea of Bible heroes. Because Ezra had all the qualifications for a hero. Deeply rooted in God, knows his stuff, well respected, and yet he makes this really intense decision that doesn't look like what we'd expect from a hero. Like Luke, he's a hero who doesn't behave the way we expect. And friends, this happens throughout the Bible. You've got people like David, a king, man after God's own heart, seen for a while as the epitome of spiritual maturity. And even Jesus later, in years later, he's called the son of David at times. And yet David does some really awful things. So how do we handle this from our so-called heroes? Because if you turn on a TV, you can see that our culture has become very superhero driven. All the Marvel stuff, Disney, all that type of stuff is all around us. And a result of this is that we become tempted to make people out to be either fully good or fully evil. It's kind of this binary that we each have to fit into our own little camps of someone either being totally good or bad. And I think that limits our understanding of humanity. So how do we interpret stories in our Bible where our so-called heroes don't appear to be acting in fully good ways. Here's my basic thought. They're human. The Bible isn't a book filled with people who we're meant to admire and replicate. It tells the story of humans who have amazing moments and amazing blunders. And listen, if someone were to write a biography about me in the future, I don't expect that to happen by any means. But just theoretically stating, if someone did, it's not going to be all good. The Bible doesn't give us heroes. It gives us humans. And it gives us the reality of the human condition. And I find that better and more compelling and even more hopeful than a book that is filled with perfect people who we don't feel like we could ever live up to. Even amidst this superhero-driven culture, we should try to appreciate the complexity of our human condition that we all share. That was true thousands of years ago in Ezra's time, just like it is true today. Holding people up to a hero status isn't a level that people are always going to live up to. And then just vilifying them when they make a mistake isn't helpful either. Instead, we're called to enter into that space where grace can dwell. Grace that works through messy humanity. And a grace that allows us to, yes, admire people, but also understand that they're going to make mistakes and have moments where they don't always live up to what we would hope. And that's where grace dwells. All right, friends, so that's this week's midweek Manna. As a reminder, we are having a class every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock in person at Hazel Park and also on Zoom. Again, you're any and all, and we do mean all people, are welcome at either church every Sunday morning, 9:45 at St. Paul and 11:15 at Hazel Park. So friends, we hope to see you then. Go in peace. You are loved. Amen.